Hey, you're live.
Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Bethlehem Planning Commission. My name is Rob Ossie. I'm the chair of the meeting. Other members included to my immediate left, Mr. Matt Malozzi, Ms. Joy Cohen, Mr. Eddie Burgos, and Mr. Rick Pongratz. We ask anyone here in attendance at this time to silence your cell phones, please. We will proceed through the agenda items as listed. Before the meeting starts, I need to verify we have had some changes to the agenda. Agenda item number 3 at 505 East McKenna Road was a sketch plan review, and it has been tabled since it was only a sketch plan review, which means they have not made a formal application for a land development plan. We are not sure whether they will be back next month or not. So that has been tabled, 505 East McKenna, along with the sketch plan review at 5262 East Broad Street as well has been tabled. We will proceed through each agenda item as listed. Applicant will have an opportunity to present to both Planning Commission members and the city staff. City staff will then have an opportunity to make any comments or recommendation. Planning Commission members will have an opportunity to direct questions related to the project to both applicant and city staff. Following Planning Commission discussion, all interested parties will have an opportunity to comment on or ask questions related to the project. We have a sign-in sheet. We ask anyone here who has any comments to sign their name and address for the record. Please adhere to a 5-minute time limit. We ask that all comments be related to the project proposal under review, and then all comments to the land use issues of the project. After all interested parties have an opportunity to speak, Planning Commission members will have a final opportunity to deliberate. The review of the Planning Commission is based on provisions of the SALDO, zoning ordinances, and other municipal ordinances. Decisions will be based upon these ordinances, recommendation of the city staff, pertinent public comment, and the public good. Our first agenda item is approval of the May 14th, 2026 minutes. Any discussion on the minutes as written? I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 14th Planning Commission.
Motion made, Ms. Cohen. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Burgos. Roll, please.
Mr. Pongratz.
Yes.
Mr. Burgos.
Yes.
Ms. Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Malozzi.
Yes.
Mr. Molaski.
Yes. Minutes approved. Our next agenda item is a site plan review. Before I allow the applicant to proceed, site plan review similar to a sketch plan review. We like that process kind of be followed. We appreciate the applicant taking the time. We are providing feedback tonight on the site plan review. There will be no formal land development plan presented at this time. So will the applicant please come forward? We'll give you a minute or so to get your items in order. And when you're ready, you may introduce yourself and proceed.
Already turned on. We'll try to go through these quickly, not take up too much time, but I think it's helpful to paint a picture of what transpired with the project.
Yep, we have one here yet, and I have one too, so I'm good. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Joe Peperato, and I'm counsel for Mr. Horvath. Kevin Horvath is seated to my right. He is both the owner of the subject property and also the preparer of the site plan. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
We have received a June 5th, 2026 review letter to our site plan from Mr. Pfeiffer, and we're grateful for that. It has the first 2 pages, a number of zoning comments, and then the balance of the review letter pertains to some overall comments regarding the land development plan. What we wanted to do this evening, this afternoon, if you'd allow us, is to really just address initially some of the zoning relief, although we understand you are not the zoning hearing board and that we must appear before the zoning hearing board in the city of Bethlehem. But we kind of wanted the Planning Commission to understand the history of this property and the rationale behind the zoning requests that the applicant is going to make to the zoning hearing board. This property has a bit of a history. It is currently located in your rural residential zoning district. It was not always, but it is currently, and it is approximately 2.25 acres. And Kevin, I believe the property at this time is vacant, correct? There's no out structures or anything on it?
Correct.
All right. It is a vacant property. And we have passed out for you tonight, maybe just a presentation that we could just follow very briefly. And the first item that you're looking at is the actual sketch plan or site plan that Kevin has submitted for the property. And the proposal for the property is to construct 10 twin-style units, semi-detached units, and 1 single-family dwelling, with the balance of the development being close to Elliott Avenue, which would allow for the preservation of many of the trees on the property, and also to not disturb as much steep slope that is currently existing at the property. So we wanted to just give you, start with a layout of what the proposal is and the proposal that has been reviewed by your city staff. The second attachment is an existing features plan. And Kevin, if you just want to review that with the Planning Commission members, if there's anything on there that you want them to be aware of.
Sure. You'll notice, depending on your eyesight, but it appears there's a dwelling on the property that was there when I purchased the property. It is no longer there. A couple of other small kind of old foundations and things. You'll notice the shading across the site is representative of the different slopes in the area. No shading, 0 to 15%. Lightest shading, 15 to 25, then 25 to 35, and 35% plus. The darkest being just around, kind of running northwest to southeast along the middle of the site.
Okay. The third attachment is an aerial, which is identifying where the site is located, and I believe it's kind of indicative of what the surrounding neighborhood is like at this location. I think you will see that how large of a tract that this tract is in its location in the city of Bethlehem. And even if you go north of that to the top of the aerial, you will see that many of the properties are much smaller. In fact, I believe Kevin and I took a look at this, and literally 6 to 8 of the average lot sizes in the community can be located on this property. That's how large this is, this 2.25 undeveloped acres that exists at that location. You will see to the south and the southwest is the Norfolk Southern property, which is a boundary in that area. You have a lane called Elliott Street that is to the west of the property, correct?
Elliott Avenue.
Elliott Avenue. And then we are bordering on Mount Airy Avenue as well. Is that correct?
East, correct?
Okay. If you go to the next exhibit in the package, it's just a breakdown of the purposes of each of the respective districts. And I may have mentioned, if I did not, this property previously was located in the RG district, which, as you know, is a higher density residential district than the RR. And so we simply wanted to attach for you the purposes of each district, the rural residential district being a low density neighborhood, and the RG medium density residential district to provide for medium high density neighborhoods with a mix of housing types. One of the things that we will discuss with the zoning hearing board as well as the planning commission is the change of the designation of this property a number of years ago from the RG classification to the RR classification. The next two exhibits are simply the dimensional requirements. What the applicant is proposing is to meet the requirements for this type of use in the RG district. We understand we are located in the RR district, but our presentation to the zoning hearing board will be for variances and dimensional variances so that we can move forward with the dimensional requirements of the RG district versus the RR district. And so,
just to jump in, the proposed lots are 4,000 plus square feet, which is consistent with the minimum lot area for a twin in the RG district. However, looking at the site in whole, on average, 11 lots over the 2 2/4 acres is over 8,000 square feet per unit, which is in excess of that required for a single-family home, even in the in the RG district. Not to mention, the RS district. So we're far exceeding, if you look at it from a density standpoint of the site, as a whole, far exceeding that for the RG district. So just point of clarification.
The next document in our handout is a memorandum that Kevin put together for us, and it really gives you the history of what has occurred to this property. Back in 2008, Kevin went before the Bethlehem Zoning Hearing Board on an interpretation issue regarding the natural slopes that exist on the property, and he received a favorable interpretation from the Zoning Hearing Board at that time regarding the slopes on the property and the ability to move forward with the development of that property. In 2009, he submitted an application for land development, and I believe that was for 24 single-family attached dwellings, townhouses,
That's correct.
on that site, and that was done in 2009. In 2010, there was some concern as to whether or not the variance he had received in 2008, interpretation that he had received in 2008 had expired. The Zoning Hearing Board's opinion was it had not expired because it was not the grant of a variance. It was actually an interpretation by the Zoning Hearing Board that natural steep slope existed on the property, but that it could be developed. Thereafter, in 2011, he received a unanimous ruling by the Planning Commission granting conditional approval of the land development plan for the 24 single-family attached dwellings, which are also known as townhouses.
That's shown on the following sheet.
Yep, and we'll show that. Yep, and if you do go to the following sheet, you will see that is the plan that the Planning Commission unanimously approved back in 2011 for this same site. In 2012, the city adopted a new zoning ordinance and they amended their zoning map. And interestingly, there were only 3 parcels of land in this area of the city that were included in the rezoning into an RR district. One of them was Northern Southern's property, which is an industrial property, which isn't going away anytime soon and most likely will never be developed in our lifetimes for any residential use. Kevin's land, that's the subject of tonight's hearing, and then a property that already had a single-family dwelling on it to the east was also included in the revisions to that zoning map. So essentially only 3 parcels were included, 2 of which were already developed and couldn't be changed. And this property was designated to be RR versus an RG district in 2012, and the zoning map was changed to show that. If you will go to the document that is marked number 5, which is after the previously approved plan, you will see that this is a copy of the City of Bethlehem Comprehensive Plan 2008, generalized existing comprehensive plan. And if you can't see it or don't know where the location is on your map, if you look to the bottom left-hand corner of that map and come in about an inch from the left to the right, you will see this lot that is in an area which is identified for residential properties. And so the comprehensive plan consistently showed that this property would be developed and would be developed in a residential capacity. If you go to the next,
Hold on a second. Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer, do you have a?
We have
number 5? We don't
number
have-
5.
I do not have a number 5 in this packet, and this packet was unfortunately not provided to us in advance of this meeting.
Number 5 is just the prior approved plan. It's not actually numbered.
I'm
Number-
sorry,
Number 6 is the
one I'm just referring to now, which is the generalized existing land use 2008 comprehensive plan. My apologies for maybe moving too quickly and not explaining what I'm looking at.
No, you're fine, Mr. Pimperano.
Thank you. So if we just page over then to number 7, which is the future land use plan for the city of Bethlehem that's included within this comprehensive plan, you will actually see that the color that is identified for this property is medium density residential. That is not your RR district. That is your RG district. And that's why we included the purpose for each of the districts in our packet. So you will see that despite the fact that the City of Bethlehem Comprehensive Plan identified this tract for residential development of a medium density size or purpose, that it was rezoned and classified as rural residential.
Is everyone able to find the property on the map? Mike or Matt, you look like you're.
No.
No.
I can draw a circle.
I'm looking
You-
at
you-
the river.
I
I'm looking for the
apologize
railroad
not
tracks, but
identifying it. What's that?
yeah. I'm looking at the river for the railroad tracks. to
Lower
turn-
left, that purple nearest to your middle finger, that purple is the Norfolk Southern property.
Yep.
Here, and then my property is that big one right there.
The yellow.
In the yellow, which you can hardly tell because of the similarity in colors, but that's medium density. The low density residential, the nearest here is all the way up on the north side. This is all medium density residential down here.
Mr. Horvath, can you just put that out to us too?
Yes,
I'm just trying
sure.
to figure that out.
This is Norfolk Southern, which is identified as industrially zoned.
Right.
And then this property right there at the tip of my finger is the subject property.
Thank you.
So right next to that. then.
Yeah, right there.
Pretty good?
More of a mustard.
Yeah, mustard as opposed to a yellow, sure.
Yep.
Spicy mustard, not yellow.
No,
Great component.
So the request that we're making to the zoning hearing board, we believe is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and their future land use plan that was developed and obviously citywide. But as it pertains to this particular property, we believe we are being consistent with our request in that regard. Exhibit 8 is just an excerpt from the 2007 zoning map, and you will see where the project site is. You will see that it confirms that the property was previously in an area that was zoned RG, and that the Norfolk Southern site was light industrial. Those are two of the three sites that were thereafter rezoned or reclassified to RR. And if you go to the next page, which is number 9, you will see that is the project site. And you'll see that light shaded color of beige or brown. To the left-hand side, you'll see RR. That extends throughout that site and into Mr. Horvath's site as well. And that's the way the map was redrawn to include it in the RR district. Exhibit number 10 is a letter dated April 29th of 2011 from the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. And in particular, the second page of that letter, I think, is important because at the time that the city considered rezoning this area of the city, the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission was strenuously opposed to creating non-conforming uses and changing the zoning of properties at this location. Again, it's done. We understand that. It's part of the current zoning map. We simply wanted to give the Planning Commission an idea of the history and the reasons why, again, that the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission believed that this would be appropriately zoned RG as it was. The previous Planning Commission, maybe some of you were members at that time, had approved a much more dense development for this project, and we believe that we are being consistent with that with this application.
Can I just jump in and make I guess more clear? I don't want to be subtle
Please.
and walk away.
Please,
Uh,
Mr. Horvath.
The Lehigh Valley Planning Commission letter specifically addresses the Norfolk Southern property, saying, don't rezone it rural residential. It's creating massive nonconformities. Leave it light industrial because that's what it is, and that's likely what it's always going to be. If you flip back a single page to number 9, you'll see the current zoning map. Imagine now that the light industrial zone remained, or Norfolk Southern is being what it is, which is industrial. And what are you left with? My property and that small neighboring property that's already developed as a single family dwelling.
You're essentially left with a spot zone, right? I mean, if you eliminate, and again, I'm not asking for anybody to agree with me. I'm just saying, if you eliminate that property, you essentially created a spot zone situation. And that's the reason why we think that the industrial property was included. Is that your assessment, Mr. Horvath?
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and you guys can make up your own minds, but it sure looks that way to me.
All right. So number 11 is simply a copy of the previous zoning hearing board decision in this matter. We just included it. You certainly don't have to go through it. I think we've paraphrased it and indicated the relief that was granted.
And just, I'll jump in again. I apologize.
Please do.
Just to make a point very clear, the zoning hearing board interpretation, it was not to grant relief of steep slope. It was because the slopes on the site were proven to be man-made and therefore exempt from the steep slope ordinance. We proved to the zoning hearing board that the natural steep slope across the site is less than 15%. And that's partly what that second sheet where I talked about the slope zones. There's some slope average lines across there, all indicating less than 15%. So just to be clear, we're not looking for steep slope relief, but only that exemption that previously existed.
And I'll let Kevin go through this because that carries over to the exhibits 12 and 13. At the same time that the city adopted its new ordinance and rezoned this particular property, it also changed the provisions of the steep slope ordinance that permitted us to receive the relief and interpretation that Kevin received back in 2009 and 2010. So Kevin, why don't you explain those two exhibits for the Planning Commission members?
Sure. Number 12 or page 12 is the 2005 language pertaining to the exemption from steep slopes, referring to lawfully man-made slopes being exempt. If you flip to the next page, the language looks very, very similar in the yellow highlighted text, except the city decided it was appropriate to tack on a caveat saying that steep slopes, man-made slopes are exempt unless they're greater than 75 years old. And again, the conspiracy theorist in me, I'm trying to push that back, but we showed at the meeting that this neighborhood was built, in the early 1900s, 20s, 30s, this Elliott Heights subdivision. So clearly, these slopes would have been decidedly excluded from the exemption given the new language of the ordinance.
And then lastly, I think Exhibit 14, and the reason why we included that is there is a development that I don't believe is being constructed at this time, but has received approvals, or most of its approvals,
Correct.
directly to the west, across from Elliott Avenue. And Kevin, if you want to speak to that in terms of the use and the density that has been approved at that location.
Sure. This is literally directly across the street. On the screen, you can see where the text Elliott Avenue is. That is where this property is. That is where this 8-unit multifamily development was approved. The development received land development approval, but in conjunction with its land development approval, it received certain decisions by the zoning hearing board, one of which were to increase the maximum allowable density of a proposed multi-development lot from 4,000 square feet to 3,000 square feet per unit. So they got a density increase variance from the zoning hearing board. They went back again to get numerous additional variances. One, they were exempt from the steep slope ordinance, which would have required their lot to be 10 acres in size. Instead, as approved, it's 0.67 acres. The maximum allowable impervious coverage, which would have been limited to 5% according to the zoning ordinance. This development was granted a variance up to 46% in impervious coverage, as well as certain tree removal exemptions, allowing up to almost 80% tree removal in a 3-year period where 25% is allowed. So significant variance is granted to allow this development to go forward, which just so happens to still reside within the RG district, but right across the street from this property that we're talking about today.
And so, we wanted you to see the plan and understand the rationale why we're seeking the semi-detached dwelling units versus single-family dwellings. In fact, if you apply the current zoning district and the current steep slope ordinance, you'd get one single-family dwelling on a 2.25 acre lot. And what's interesting, and I will mention this to the zoning hearing board, is that the municipality's planning code specifically lists lot size as potentially a unique characteristic about a property. But most people come in and they argue about a small lot size. Well, a large lot size that's unique to an area, and this is clearly unique to this area, particularly in light of the fact that it's 6 to 7 times larger than what the most common lots are in the general vicinity. It's clearly an unusual situation and a unique situation at this location. We don't believe that the 10 twin style homes and one single family dwelling, 11 units, is an overbuild on this property compared to what's happening next door and in other areas, correct?
Actually, just compared to what's happening in the entire neighborhood, 8,000 square feet is far in excess of what's allowed in or what's required in the neighborhood, even for single family homes. And just to talk a little more about, not just that I might feel wronged kind of thing. I'm not trying to go down that path, but why this is right, as opposed to, why the zoning was wrong, but why this is right in the sense that it does fit in with the character of the neighborhood. The density is less than that of the surrounding neighborhood. There's a single family detached dwelling lot proposed against the other RR property to its south. So there's a nice buffer there. And keeping in mind, we're adjacent to Norfolk Southern. This is not something or a property where someone's going to come and build a family compound on a 2.24 acre lot, because that's what's allowed. It's a lot where we can do some good for the community by providing reasonably affordable housing where hardly any exists today. These are 10 units where they wouldn't otherwise exist without this relief that we're seeking.
Yeah. So we thought we'd, make our little presentation and maybe see if the planning commission members had any comments that we could take back and prepare ourselves for our zoning hearing board meeting. As planners, we all know that transitional zoning is important, right? I mean, normally next to an industrial or commercial property, what do you have? If it's residential, you have higher density. You transition from industrial to commercial into higher density, into medium density, into lower density. And we just find it unusual and unique, which is an important word in the law, that this property is zoned RR at this time when it borders an industrial district and another district that has a higher density category to it. I think we'll close by just saying, from a planning perspective, not only the density, but if you want to talk about the limitations of the disturbance of the steep slope with this plan, and also the trees, and because this is a heavily treed lot as well.
Sure. Yeah. The fact about this property as well is this is an infill development essentially. It's surrounded by existing city infrastructure. It has roadways. It has utilities in those roadways. Yes, there are some trees on the site. Yes, there are some slopes on the site, but that doesn't render the site undevelopable in a responsible manner. So what I did is I placed the homes adjacent to the street, utilizing that existing street frontage. The prior development had rear access driveways, which further encroached and disturbance into the lot. But these being pressed up against the road to the extent that they could, the grading with the two kind of a walkout basement to tier the ground back as consistent with the slope. All of those things go toward, one, making it an efficient development, but also preserving some of these characteristics that I would like to think that was maybe the motivation behind some of these zoning changes, which was to preserve the slopes or steer development away from steeper sloping areas, which this does, and preserve some of the trees on the site, which again, this does by maintaining this frontage development layout.
Thank you, Mr. Horvath, and commend you and Mr. Pimperato as well. And very well prepared, even the timeline on the number of years that this has kind of been going on, so to speak. But by definition, the site plan review, you really have presented that much clearer, at least to me, and I'm sure the rest of the planning commission in terms of the site itself. Before I open it up to the planning commission, can you just verify one more time what all are you asking from the zoning hearing board in terms of relief?
We're going to have to ask for a use variance, right? Because right now the RR district only permits single family dwellings. So unfortunately, we're going to have to ask for a use variance. And then on the dimensional variances, I believe, Kevin, you had prepared, maybe we can share that with the planning commission members, or can you let them know what dimensional requirements we'll need variances from?
Okay, sure. If you look at the site plan itself, on the left-hand side, there's a zoning data table. And the items identified, is that, no, I take that back. Oh yeah, okay. So the items identified with a number 3 are items that would require relief. I'm not sure.
Can you see them and can you read them into the record for
So
everybody?
we're looking at a minimum lot width. We're looking at a front yard setback. We're looking at a side yard setback and a rear yard setback is good. Building coverage, what's allowed is 15%. What I'm proposing is 30%, which is, again, that's consistent with the with the RG zoning district, but you'll notice that the maximum impervious coverage at 50% is the same as in the RG district, and we would be compliant with that overall impervious coverage limitation. So it's basically taking any area or any of the dimensional requirements and kind of truing them up to the RG district, which is also provided below on the left-hand corner of the plan, showing compliance with all of those dimensional.
And that's what I
requirements.
wanted to try to make clear. If we were able to convince the zoning hearing board to apply the RG requirements, are we in compliance with all of them?
Yes.
So it would just be those in the RR, the 3 or 4 that you mentioned that we would require variances from.
Yes. In addition, a interpretation, or maybe in this instance, a variance from the strict interpretation of the steep
Of
slope.
the new provisions of the steep slope ordinance, yeah.
Essentially just saying, eliminate that 75-year caveat, and we're back to where we were, showing that this is a site that was 15% or
Right.
less naturally.
Appreciate that
Thank you.
clarification for that. I will at this time allow Mr. Pfeiffer to point anything else out of importance from the June 5th memo.
Certainly, and appreciate the applicant's presentation. They were pretty thorough. So I will try to keep my comments brief. Perhaps most importantly, the distinction between a site plan and a sketch plan. This is more focused on neighborhood impacts, and I'll get into that in just a second, as opposed to the more engineered projects that you would normally see under a typical land development subdivision plan. So we're looking to provide overall planning and guidance. And specifically, the Planning Commission may recommend conditions of approval that should be considered by the zoning hearing board. You have that at your discretion. This provision is set forth because of the considerable impacts that these land uses may have upon the community. The plan review is intended to emphasize layout, neighborhood compatibility, issues like vehicle and pedestrian circulation, and any special features such as buffer yards, preservation of natural features, and the like. So the applicant did a good job on pointing out the 3 different variances that they would need to seek from the zoning hearing board: use variance, dimensional variances if they use the RG as opposed to other allowed uses under RR. And the last, just to clarify, the zoning officer, with consultation with our law bureau, did make the determination that the steep slopes provisions do apply. So the applicant would need to include that as part of their application or an interpretation request. The comments from city staff, again, being site plan, sketch plan, these are all limited based on the information provided. We did have 2 sheets, the existing condition and the proposed layout. Under stormwater, there is, of course, an escrow fee for any increase in pervious coverage, and a requirement for a stormwater report and a post-construction stormwater management plan. Under miscellaneous engineering, they're requesting or requiring a legal description of the proposed lots, and that just to remind, and we don't really need to remind this applicant because they do this all the time, but that they would be responsible for preparing any necessary deed of dedication and recording it at Lehigh County. Under traffic, there are a couple of concerns which I thought were interesting. If you look at the plan, and I'll just bring this up quickly as I can, Mount Airy Avenue isn't improved to the full width of the cartway and right-of-way. And so the applicant's proposing to put in the curb and sidewalk along Mount Airy, but it terminates what appears to be in the yard of the adjacent house. That's just because the street itself is not improved to that extent to down to Cottage Avenue. So they've placed sidewalk up to a certain point, and then they cross-hatch that area that would hopefully allow vehicles to bottleneck down into that narrower cartway width. They're specifically saying, this is the traffic superintendent, that they do not want to see an ADA compliant curb ramp at this location because there's no safe crossing, so they don't want to sort of lead somebody down that path. The second is they wanted to work with the applicant in terms of how they could eliminate the possibility of cars continuing down on the southern direction and ending up in the front yard of the adjacent properties. So those are things that can be worked through as the applicant works through the development of the plan. The city forester did mention about identifying, and so did the city zoning officer, identifying those trees that are going to be removed that meet the qualification for tree preservation, and then subsequently their replacement. In the RR district, it is a 2-for-1 replacement. the fire marshal, which is probably the biggest concerns that the applicant will have, which is determining how a vehicle apparatus would turn around at the bottom of Elliott Avenue at this location, and that they want to see a fire hydrant added at the intersection with Mount Airy. To get more into that last item, and I don't really have too many comments under general, but I did want to point out on the routing memo to city staff, we do talk about Elliott Avenue between Mount Airy Avenue and the Pennsylvania lines, Norfolk Southern, remains ostensibly unopened. When this development came through to you, it included that applicant improving that portion of Elliott Avenue so that it would be a 30-foot cartway with a 5-foot sidewalk on the northern side. Obviously, this applicant has proposed some sidewalk on the southern side, but that current condition is unimproved. It's unopened. You can kind of get down there a little bit. And if you go to Google Street View, or if you take a drive over there, you can see where at one point did have an entrance, probably to the single family dwelling that once was on this property, but it is currently not. So at some point, in order for this project to work, this right of way is going to need to be improved to current city standards.
Thank you, Mr. Piper. Anything else?
That's everything. Thank you.
Mr. Pimperato, any comments
I don't
based
think so.
upon Mr. Piper's
Do you
comments?
have anything?
No, other than I do have some thoughts on alternate improvement ideas for Mount Airy. I think what's shown there is kind of the standard textbook, widen your side of the road to town or to city standards. But in this case, I think the cartway width is 40 feet for Mount Airy. That road might see 3 cars a day. So to have it widen like that, creating the issues it does, potentially some limited widening and on the other side to provide like a consistent 28-foot wide cartway that would be in line with the next block. But I don't want to get into the details there, but certainly something needs to be done with Elliott Avenue. The city essentially stopped maintaining it about 15 years ago. They put a concrete blocks across it. They don't pave it. They don't do anything. So yeah, it's a site. I'm not sure what led to that decision, but something needs to be done there in conjunction with the prior project that was approved. I had proposed to widen the roadway to standard width with curbing and sidewalk, and then mill and overlay the road to provide, I think, a minimum 24-foot wide cartway, but not doing the offsite improvements, which would, essentially include frontage improvements on someone else, on the other side of the road,
Right.
because that would open up all sorts of problems with the
And
hillside.
obviously, as you can see here on the screen, that what you just explained would be an obvious improvement to that.
Yeah,
to that area.
yeah.
Anything else from Mr. Piper? At this time, I'll ask planning commission members if there's any input, feedback, questions for either Mr. Pimperato or Mr. Horvath. Mr. Malozzi?
Thank you, Mr. Malosky. Just to make sure I understand, and I could direct this to city staff, is this the current zoning, the 2011 zoning map as presented to us?
Yes.
And the property just to the south, that is an existing residence, correct? The only other one that is in the RR that exists today?
That does. I'm trying to get you there as fast as I can.
Don't speed. All right. Thank you.
This residence here.
Okay. And I noticed there's a couple of drainage easements. The one on your property, Mr. Horvath, is that, did you create that, or was that
So
created? by the
that is
municipality?
something that I was contemplating. I'm trying to think a couple of steps ahead because the obligatory curb and sidewalk is going to take water that currently flows across Elliott Avenue. Mount Airy. It doesn't have a crown. It pitches from east to west, and the water sheet flows, and then sheet flows through my property, through the woods. Putting a curb there is going to interrupt that natural drainage. So anticipating putting something there and then redissipating the water. So that necessitated that drainage easement nearer to the street.
Mhm.
And then down below toward the railroad tracks would be a potential for a stormwater management area if one is needed. So those do not exist. I probably shouldn't even have included them on the plan, but they're just kind of my thinking forward. If this goes through, that might be one possible alternative to dealing with the water.
Is the area along the Norfolk Southern boundary with your property that drainage easement, is that heavily wooded and steep slopes there?
The lower portion of the site, it was not, it was not wooded. It's overgrown. We'll
Mm.
call it that. The water all drains down to a single cross pipe that's about in the middle of my property
Mhm.
and beneath the railroad tracks. So that whole area kind of funnels through there and then under the tracks about midway, right about where the cursor is probably, Craig.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so that area, the lot, is that developable in your interpretation? Like that, I know you don't have any plan for it here, but that would stay open basically.
Which would that be?
The
The larger parcel, number 11? Or
well, the one just to the west of the larger parcel, it's an odd shaped thing that has the drainage easement in it.
so there are only
put the
11
site plan back
parcels.
up
The
on
one would
Site
be,
plan.
Yeah, he's talking about this area right here.
oh, that's, like I said, that's maybe slated for future stormwater management. That's not a separate lot.
Right.
That, the single lot 11
That's
is,
it. Thank you.
includes that, it includes all that, it includes that, it includes the strip up to Elliott Avenue.
Mhm.
Not, those aren't separate. That's just one single large lot,
Yep.
well in excess of the minimum required for, even for the RR zoning district.
Okay.
I think it's maybe over an acre.
And I was just wondering, is it possible to develop that area that's labeled drainage easement today? Like it looks like it's pretty
I know, because
overgrown and
that
steep. there.
dashed line is like a potential special flood area.
Mhm.
It's not really a floodplain, but it's just, it's like subject to inundation by low, potentially, less than a foot of water kind of thing.
Right.
So that area would be left alone. That's just a natural drainage area, so it wouldn't be keen for development. The development, if that lot 11 were to be developed, would be adjacent to Mount Airy Avenue,
Right.
leaving the lower portions of the site pretty well alone.
As a single family home.
As
on
a
that
single
lot
family
11.
for lot 11, yeah.
Okay. And then the remainder along the railroad would be left
It would be open space.
undeveloped.
Right,
So,
yep.
so you really taken 2.25 acres and really pushed all the development up along Elliott Avenue.
Yep.
Okay. Um, and then stormwater, are there stormwater facilities there that you can tie into city stormwater in the streets, like in Mount Airy, or?
There is not. All the water flows down through my property
Mhm.
to that cross pipe. So
Okay.
anything that lands on this property ends up down at the railroad tracks. It doesn't go into the street. The only water that goes in the street is the water from the street
Right. So, and then you said under the tracks and then out to the Lehigh.
to the canal.
Oh,
The
good.
canal's directly across from the tracks. You can see it in that triple dotted line there. That's the canal.
Okay. Okay, and all the access these units would be accessed by vehicles from Elliott Avenue, and they all have a paved driveway and a single car garage.
Single car garage and a parking spot in front.
What's the square footage of the typical
4,000.
You-
Actually, is it?
Lot size or structure?
dwelling unit structure?
Dwelling.
Yeah.
Oh, can you read the text there? Is it 30 by 40? Something like that?
Okay.
I have a large, never mind, I have a
So
large.
12.
size print.
1,200, would they be,
Yeah, 30 wide
and 40,
by
yeah.
40 deep.
So 1,200 footprint and 2 stories?
Yes, and then a walkout lower level because of the slope.
Should be nice, yeah.
So they're not railroad style homes. These are pretty decent size.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Cohen?
Um, Based on this first sheet with the site plan and the zoning data on it, the front yard setback you're proposing is 20 feet,
Mhm.
which you say meets the RG requirement.
That's correct.
Is there any particular reason you couldn't comply with the 25-foot
It-
setback?
It pushes it further down the hill. The site is like this. So the further out, the more fill, the more difficult the construction gets, the more influence it has on the slopes and on the trees. I was just trying to tuck it to the best I could against the road. And these are not facing anything. These are looking at either a vacant property across the street or ultimately an apartment building. So it really has very little impact on the surrounding homes, which, incidentally are developed reasonably in accordance with this RG. So it's not anything out of character, but I get your question, but it is to keep that development as close to the street and limit that site disturbance to the extent possible.
Okay, and the side yard setback, to me, it's a little confusing. It's marked on the plan as a 6-foot side yard, but then it's dimensioned as 10 feet. And then the zoning requirement says 15.
So the 15 feet is for
Rural residential.
rural residential for a single-family home. The setbacks shown on the plan are consistent with the RG, the setback lines shown on the plan are consistent with the RG district at 6 feet for a twin. And I just dimensioned it saying, I'm not necessarily proposing to go right up to that 6 feet. What I think would be a reasonably sized unit would be 10 feet off the side lot line. So I wasn't really looking to hem that in any further, but I was just showing you what I was kind of envisioning.
Okay. And as far as the development of Elliott Avenue,
Mhm.
the other project across the street that we talked about would be doing street improvements. If they wouldn't go ahead before you,
Mhm.
how would you deal with that?
Well, I think what I would propose is what was approved with the prior plan, and that was to construct the road improvements along my frontage, which would be the curb and the sidewalk, to provide for what would ultimately be a 15-foot half-width cartway. And because the city has allowed the road to deteriorate to the extent that it did, it's not even drivable at this point. So I think it's going to require reconstruction just to make my property, accessible. So I was suggesting 24 feet, which would be accessible by emergency vehicles, but it wouldn't get me to the point where I'm rebuilding the city street on other people's property, which would be, going beyond there. I thought that was a happy compromise.
And then besides the other property across the street, you would extend the development of your property, of the street in front of your property to the end.
To the end, as far as it needs to go, it really kind of falls off down into the railroad tracks. I mean, if the city wants it full on down there, fine. I stopped it short because I didn't see really any point in extending it further.
They did talk about the turnaround for the,
Right. I plan to have a conversation with the fire chief and see
Okay.
what we can do to make that a safe situation. I provided for what I think might be a good idea would be a public easement over that. You see that rectangular shape extending south from Elliott there, and making that some sort of a public turnaround easement, as opposed to, obviously there's no right of way available for a cul-de-sac. The city's street was ordained as it is, with that stub. So I would try to make the best of that situation by providing some sort of a public turnaround easement.
thank you.
Anyone else, Planning Commission, have any questions for either Mr. Horvath or Mr. Pimperato? Anyone here in attendance have any questions, comments concerning the site plan review at 1801 Elliott Avenue? Again, Mr. Pimperato and Mr. Horvath, I commend you.
Thank you.
Very well prepared. I'm confident that if you had to present to the zoning hearing board tomorrow, you would be ready. It is something that the timeline that you had really paints a picture of what's this
So
moving
this is our
forward all
trial
about.
run, so
So
we appreciate your patience. Thank
Yes.
you.
And
Yes.
we
thank
appreciate the
you,
value of the planning commission's, feedback in matters like this with
Yes.
the zoning hearing board.
and much appreciated you coming in. Thank you. Best of luck moving forward. Oh, Mr. Malozzi.
Since our minutes may be sent to the zoning hearing board, I guess just to make this statement, speaking for myself, I think it's been thoughtfully designed to push the density up to the existing infrastructure, well, Elliott Avenue as it exists today, and then leaving some open space in the back there with that so-called drainage easement area. And considering the history of the zoning, I think it is reasonable because there's the Norfolk Southern to your east and south, to your west and south, I guess, is a separate story. But everybody else to your to your north and to the east is already in the RG. And from what you're stating, you've designed this so that if you receive a zoning variance for RG, you'll be compliant with all the dimensionals.
That's correct.
So that wipes out any dimensional variances you would need if you were allowed to design this for the RG. And then it's just a question of the steep slopes question.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so any recommendation you can make to the zoning hearing board would be greatly appreciated.
Well, I think I'm on the record.
I think
now,
Mr.
so-
Melosi's on the record. And I think, Mr. Pimperano, you understand when it comes to maybe the character of the homes or the layout of the homes, we can certainly, but we also tiptoe and we don't want to step on
I understand.
anyone's toes when
I
it comes to
understand. Thank you.
zoning. So
Okay.
thank you very much. Best of luck.
Oh,
Thank
great.
you.
Have a good evening.
Excuse me. Do you mind stepping forward? Give me your name and address for the record. Thank you. Name and address. That'd be great. Thanks.
Well, do you need my name and address?
Yes, we do.
For what, though? I just want to say, like, he doesn't live down there. Like, there's more than 3 cars that go by Mount Airy. And if he goes to Mount Airy, go
I'm
to Mount
sorry.
Airy and
I'm
Calypso.
sorry, sir. Your name,
Forrest
please,
Flink
and where do you live, sir?
on Elliott Avenue.
The address for the record.
Look, man, all I'm saying is you're going to approve him.
Your address
And on
for the
Mount Airy,
your
on
address
Fifth
for the
Avenue,
record.
you're going to approve
nothing was
another guy.
approved, sir. Your address for the record.
1625 Elliott Avenue.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Look, you're going to approve. There's more than 3 cars. You got someone on the other side of the street. You got this guy. And on down at the end of Mount Airy and Calypso, you're going to approve another project in the future. So you're going to have all these cars in the neighborhood. There's no stop sign on Elliott coming from down at the avenue. People come straight up and Cottage. There's no stop signs. I just think you're going to overflood a residential neighborhood. It's not your neighborhood. It just seems like every time people come here concerned the neighborhood, like you guys already have your mind set up. This guy, he hasn't even cut the grass for like 20 years since he owned it. The house that was on there, he probably burned down because everybody saw a car leave at 1:30 in the morning way back then. I mean,
All right.
this is ridiculous.
We appreciate. We appreciate.
But people live there, and
You're
you got to
making-
consider us.
Excuse me, sir.
Instead of
You're
just
making
passing
assumptions and coming in there and making.
Well,
assumptions.
I grew up, dude.
If
I
you
live
have any
here. You
questions,
don't.
If you have
You
any
didn't.
questions, if you have any
Stop
questions,
over flooding the neighborhood and let us. The people walk back there. There's kids. There's no sidewalks.
I appreciate that.
Consideration.
My-
Give them less.
Nothing was approved this evening. And certainly you have every opportunity to come to the zoning hearing board. You can come to the zoning hearing board. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Sorry about that, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Best of luck.
All right. Have a nice evening.
Our next 2 agenda items for anyone that had arrived late this evening or came in recently have been tabled. Those are the sketch plan reviews at 505 East Makeda and the sketch plan reviews at 5262 East Broad Street. Our next agenda item is 2955 Linden Street, a minor land development plan. We will allow the applicant their opportunity here to get settled. And when you're ready, introduce yourself and you may begin.
Certainly. Thank you. My name is Justin Massey. I work for Terraform Engineering, and with me tonight is Brian Anstine from Storage First LLC. We're here on behalf of the project at 2955 Linden Street. I just want to give a little bit of what we're doing there. Currently, the lot is a condominium type lot, and the area that we're developing is an existing parking lot. And for some history, when the lot was originally developed, the building just north of this parking lot was a restaurant. And in 2016, the restaurant was converted to a daycare. So the need for parking reduced greatly. And therefore, this parking lot wasn't used. And they've sold that. And we would like to put a 84 unit self-storage unit facility in the area of the existing parking lot. We're leaving all the existing buffering plantings that exist there. And we're actually, it ends up being a reduction in impervious surface once we actually, put the units on there. The way that it's laid out is that vehicles, obviously there would be security fencing around the facility and a gate at the entrance there. Vehicles would come in, it would have a one-way circular pattern around the interior storage unit, and then they would leave on the exterior unit. We did receive a review letter dated May 26th from the city, and we have gone through all of those. We don't really have any objections. We met with the fire marshal after we received the letter to go over their comments, and we believe those are all very addressable. I guess we're here tonight to request a conditional approval.
Thank you. Can you go in a little bit more detail about, you mentioned a fence around the facility. Can you talk a little bit about the makeup of that, access to it, where the gate is, the materials that have been utilized for these storage units? One of the things that, as our planning commission members know, and anyone that is in that area, that neighborhood, we want to try to have the character of the lot, the project itself, kind of meld in with the community itself. So if you can just kind of elaborate more about that, be great.
All right, just introduce myself again, Byron Anstein. I'm the owner of Storage First and equitable owner of the property. So all together, we're looking at 84 units, of a mix of what's called drive-up units, where you can drive right up, open the door, as well as climate-controlled units down just in the center building. You can see the indentations for doors that would be going inside. So it's single story. Call it the perimeter buildings would be 8.5 feet tall. The center building would be 9.5 feet tall. As Mr. Massey said, we're not disturbing any of the buffer plantings that are currently there. The buildings themselves, obviously the doors will face the drive lane. So the rear of the buildings face the buffer plantings. So that sort of creates call it a fence that way. But then in between the units that are not connected, we will have a fence. We did originally propose an 8-foot high fence, but the zoning is 6 feet, and we'll comply with that. The fence itself for those areas, we proposed it would be a black chain link fence, just so the black blends right in, so you don't see any sort of the silver that you're probably normally used to seeing. Lighting, everything would be off of the middle building, the large building in the middle. Then there'd be downlights onto the asphalt, so you wouldn't have lights bleeding out into the neighboring areas. So it's all self-contained that way. Access is through the gate there in the front. The only way to get through that gate is if you are an actual tenant or customer, so you get your own unique code to get in there to gain access. So you have that. We have security cameras, also recording. So once you're in there, you are on video. Going back to the gate, actually, we do have operational hours from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. So we don't want people going there in the middle of the night to have some control over that. We found that works out pretty well. Just trying to think of anything else. Pedestrian gate is also at the front there. So it's basically a one-way out. So God forbid the gate to get out doesn't work. You can walk out as a pedestrian with a panic bar. So it's always locked, but you can get out from the facility though. If you have any further questions, happy to answer them.
And you have experience, Mr. Stein.
We own 7 other facilities.
You have any photos of what those other facilities look like?
Yes, and I don't have them with me, but I'm happy, and I also have a website that you can go on.
Can you talk a little bit about the structures
Sure.
themselves? Are
So-
they the typical? I don't want to use this term, but it was mentioned. I heard it mentioned earlier, like an army barrack building that is just sort of like a box structure, or
Yeah, so
what-
they are. I don't want to call them prefab, but they are metal buildings, and they're all basically they are fabricated in a factory, and so the framing, the structure itself comes as well as the panels. Again, from a color standpoint, what I always like to do is do tan for the exterior. Probably the doors would be some sort of another color to blend in there, and then flat roofs.
do you have examples on a website that we might be able to pull?
Sure. If you want to go, it's Storage First, PA. So spell the word storage, the word first. Oh, and you missed the R there.
It's a little bit easier on myself.
What are you doing?
StorageFirstPA.com.
Kinds of things.
So probably the best example would be if you go to one in Downingtown. Oh, yeah. So on the left side there, if you scroll down on this page, yeah, there you go. So Hazelwood Avenue, actually, yeah, there you go. Right there. So this is Google Maps, I guess it took you to, whatever you click there. So this is, yep, right there. Perfect. So you can see again, the gate, landscaping, beige walls. You have the keypad as you drive up. It's a aluminum gate there that opens, based on going in there.
And you're planning on having that style of gate where I see it's almost like an aluminum.
Yeah, that's called a articulating pivot gate. It's in my opinion the best that you can get for this scenario. So basically, it can open them up faster and close faster as opposed to a sliding gate, which takes up more room then too.
Now the style of that gate, would it match the fence that you're going to be placing around it?
No, what I said, and this is actually here too, we've done with an 8-foot high chain link fence that's black in color. So you can see, actually, if you go, you can't obviously, but through that in the back, there's fencing, and up here on the right, once you'd make that turn, there's see the black just sort of blends right in my opinion. That's 8 feet high. Your ordinance is 6, so we would, have it at 6 feet.
What's the height of that gate?
You're probably right around 6 feet.
Would you be willing to put the fence the same style as the gate around the perimeter?
We could look into that, I guess. Yeah, I mean, to make that, I guess the biggest question is doing it 6 feet high then?
Well, you said that's what you're planning on doing the chain
Yep.
link in, right?
Yep.
And if the gate,
My only
I first pull it up
apprehension is that one is when it is hit or something, it's more difficult to fix versus the chain link. So, but that's something we can look at. And I don't know if it would be Mr. Pfeiffer going back to him, but I don't think it's out of the question to be able to do that. Because again, these areas are small because the buildings themselves have become sort of the natural barrier for the facility. Again, right now, the plantings there are probably 20 to 30 feet tall that buffer the neighboring properties. So the only people that would be seeing these fences are probably from the inside.
what color scheme again are you looking to utilize?
A tan building, most likely then with white doors.
White doors?
Yeah, and I can literally, there's a plethora of colors that you can choose. As you saw, that other facility had the blue doors, but I've done tan and white before.
Mr. Pfeiffer, what else from the May 27th memo?
Certainly. And just for my clarification for the notes, Mr. Malowski, you were suggesting a aluminum metal painted black
Yes,
tile fencing?
in,
Thank
in
you.
lieu of the chain link.
Thank you.
The gate that he showed off his website was the aluminum vertical type balusters, or what the panels, if you will, and would like to see that be consistent around the perimeter of the entire project.
Thank you. Noted. I'll go through my comments as quick as I can. So a couple of things that need to be clarified under miscellaneous engineering. The ENS plan does not need to be reviewed by DEP. Unfortunately, our city forester, Ms. Teal, has left us, and it is currently our acting pretty much everything engineering. Mr. Schlosser is currently filling in that role for this particular project. So as you proceed to the applicant, if you do have questions pertaining to forestry, you still send them to me, but you'll be working directly with Dylan, who also did your engineering reviews. So as mentioned in the last presentation, fire department issues are always critical. These comments may have already been addressed by the applicant. They indicated that they had a conversation with the fire marshal. I was not part of that conversation. So these things would still stand, making sure that there's turning space to access all areas and that the security gate meets fire code requirements. Under zoning, the zoning officer indicated that a two-way ingress egress shall be a minimum of 24 feet. In conversation I had with Terraform, they indicated that they could comply with that. The applicant already addressed the fence height. Under item number 2, general, the applicant already addressed this. In fact, this was a conversation I had with their engineer prior, so we do understand that it is a condo association arrangement and that there aren't a necessary need for access easements. I understand that you're maintaining all the perimeter trees, but we did indicate in our plan that there would need to be justification for removing those that are not on the perimeter. And I understand that that is possible. So we'll continue to work with you on your landscaping plan. And I do reference that tree preservation is encouraged under our subdivision land development ordinance 1349.19. There is an LVP letter attached to the back of your packet. I did not go through that thoroughly, but it's there for your consideration. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Mr. Pfeiffer, while we have that Google image up there, the satellite, do we know, and maybe Mr. Stein knows, what's the, are those currently armavita separating the lot from the residential
So that's Arborvitae on the south
what's the
side.
height of those armavita?
Yes. And then on the
What
on
are the height? What's the height? of the
15 to 20 feet tall. And then on the western side, it's actually evergreens.
Thank you for that clarification. Anything else, Mr. Pfeiffer?
That's everything.
Any
Thank you.
questions or comments from Mr. Pfeiffer? Everything from that May 27th memo you're in compliance with, and in particular what he mentioned about the fire department
Yes.
issues.
Yes. Yeah, we met with him. He told us what fire truck he wanted us to use to model through the system. So with the next submission, it'll have the turning templates and everything.
Although, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Justin, was that Craig or was that Lucas?
It was Craig.
It was Craig. Okay, thank you.
I'll open up the planning commission members. Any questions for Mr. Stein? Mr. Pograntz.
I just have a question. You said you own 7 of these?
Yeah.
Have you ever done a study or just figuring out traffic flow around that area? How many cars, how many moving trucks, what's coming in and out a day, a month? Just because it's sitting so close to that daycare and residential areas, that's a concern.
So understood. So there's different studies that you can look at. So they have a storage unit association that did a study that of their particular type things that would lead you to believe that there's about 7 to 8 per day.
Okay.
If you use the ITE model for the number of units, as far as just warehouse units, small warehouse units, that would lead you to believe that there would be 12 per day. So we're talking very, very small amount of traffic. In the peak hour on a weekday, you're talking 3.
And is that just, are those just regular vehicles? Are they big moving trucks? Are they, you
No,
know?
I mean, typically you are vehicle, just your resident, I don't want to call it resident,
Right.
consumers that are, you're going there to store your belongings. You're not getting 18 wheelers. You
Okay.
will get like a U-Haul or
Mhm.
something like that, but you aren't getting the huge vehicles in there for that purpose. So, but the majority of it is, you know, people with their cars and SUVs and pickup trucks.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palmgren. Lighting, can you elaborate on that? Just because of the neighbors in that area, is there any overflow lighting that would shine at night? What's the plan?
So as he mentioned, the middle building there is about 9 feet tall, and the lighting for the entire complex would be attached to that building and downlit from there. So, you know, it's much less in height than the existing vegetation that's out there, and it's all directed directly down onto the pavement as well.
And I'll just also add, there's currently right now, there's large, I don't want to know the exact feet, but 15, 20 foot high light poles there that just shine down. So you're going to get more bleeding out of those lights
Right.
than what we were.
Thank you for that clarification. Mr. Malozzi.
Thank you. So everything's wall packs off of that big building, even onto the smaller buildings?
Yep.
Great. And the referencing the site plan, your configuration, so does anybody need to get behind those buildings, or all the doors, the buildings, they have their backs to the adjacent property owners?
Yeah. So there's no, from a customer standpoint, no,
Yeah.
nobody should be going back there. Only people back there should be landscaping people that currently cut it right now. So all the doors front the drive lane, the asphalt. So you pull up to that. So
Okay. And the existing buffering that's in place all stays?
all stays.
That's
And that's
all
like, we wanted to
abiding.
keep everything existing and have, you know, little impact that way. And again, from a setback, a building setback and impervious to go, you know, try to minimize.
And did you previously say it was the gates, you could access the property 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
Yeah. So you know, so people aren't just showing up at 2 a.m. to do something. So it's, again, having that.
Is that in our ordinance?
It's something that we as a company just do. It's funny you say that, though, because I've had my actually property in Downingtown. They, in their ordinance, required it. They wanted 24-hour access, which I disagree with, but that's what they've have. But that's just our own, you know, what we do as a business.
Which I think makes a lot of sense, especially given the residential character around here. Is that something that you mind putting in as a condition?
Oh yeah, that's fine. To say from 6 to 10.
Yes.
Yeah,
that
that's
the
I'm
hours
totally
would
fine
be,
with that.
6 to 10.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the traffic or car circulation, you will have signage in there to
Yeah,
Um,
those
one way.
exactly. I think.
Yeah, we're going to have the painting on the things indicating the one-way circulation.
And how about signage from Linden? I mean,
Well, I mean, once you get out to Linden, we're not changing anything.
no, your
Oh,
Linden, the
Yeah,
name
we'll
of
do. There is.
Linden Street Storage, right?
Yeah,
Where's
so
that?
there is. They have the daycare has signage there right next to the. If you go a little bit more up with your cursor, there you go. You can sort of see the blue there.
So you are
So yeah, and that would be a separate, obviously, permit for the sign there.
Right
There's
there.
a little space under the learning experience. Is what we were thinking of that, but we
Okay.
don't have anything definite. But that was the idea.
Thank you for clarifying. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Thanks. Any other planning commission members? Questions? Ms. Cohen.
So you said you worked with the fire department regarding getting the fire truck in,
correct. Yes.
and they don't have problem going around the corners?
No, not with they gave us the exact dimensions of the vehicle that they would use for this, and they told us to model it. So we have modeled that, and we'll give that to them.
And someone mentioned 24 feet. Was that the entrance?
The entrance requirement is 24 feet. That's a zoning requirement. We either are going to have to modify that entrance, or we're going to have to get zoning relief for it. We brought that up with the fire chief. He does not object to the width that's there. He only wanted 18 feet. But that is something we'll have to address.
And you said you don't have, let's say, 7 to 12 people per day, like on a weekend, if someone would bring 2 rental trucks in there, is the 20 feet 5 on the south side wide enough to park and get another one around? And I
Yeah,
assume you've done it, you said you've done it before, that
right.
you don't run into issues with that.
No, I mean, those are always things that, yeah, we have not ever had issues like that. So,
Okay. Would you consider putting some landscaping on the east side between the back of your storage unit and the community bank building?
I don't know what is already there without
There-
looking, but I
if you-
know,
It's not a large area. If we put anything, it would have to be a very small.
and it'd be low to the ground.
Looks like there's 2 trees in each corner of your.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather personally work to preserve the trees than add the landscaping, just because if you took those down, you're gonna have to have, now you're going back to probably an 1.5 inch caliber tree then to go.
And you are looking to keep those trees if possible.
Yeah, they are on the corners there. So, and that was one of the comments I know initially. So I think what we'd have to do is add tree protection during construction, but they're in a spot that I believe, as long as they're in healthy condition, that we can try to work, probably limb them up more.
Okay. In terms of the security cameras, in the upper left corner, specifically west corner of the
Yep.
lot, where would those be positioned, and they would be?
Pretty much usually.
What I'm concerned about is facing any security cameras towards the daycare center.
Oh, I understand. Great question. So that is, and maybe Justin, you can confirm, I think just I don't want to call it emergency exit coming out that side. So, and there is also a 6-foot high fence for their playground there. So the idea would be to have the cameras on the center building facing out to the drive lanes. I don't think, and I could talk to the owner of the daycare to find out where children might be, but I do understand your concern of not having kids photographed. So because they do have their own fence going, a 4-foot high fence going down on the sidewalk to sort of corral people if there was an emergency.
Pull up the Google Maps again, Mr. Pfeiffer, especially where the playground is.
Yeah, so
Zoom in. That white
it's a white PVC fence.
is, yeah, and it's a solid fence.
Yes.
Right.
And you said it's 4 feet high.
No, the one next to the parking lot's 4 feet high. That's got to be at least 6 feet high next to the
Okay.
playground.
I think the entire perimeter might be 6 feet high.
Thank you for considering that.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone here in attendance tonight have any questions or comment as it pertains to the minor land development plan at 2955? If you don't mind, please give your name and address for the record. Thank you for cooperating.
More than happy. My name is Jennifer Zulo. I live at 540 Barclay in Bethlehem, PA, which is not far from the storage facility. Okay, I respectfully have concerns about this. I drive those roads every day, and if one car is making a left and you're waiting, it backs up traffic. We have lots of school buses that go down the area. There's a lot of traffic that does become a very tight space. I know that, I'm your biggest customer. Let me put it this way. In 2017, I moved here with my family from Rhode Island. We had a storage unit off of Shanersville. We had a very large truck for 4 bedrooms. And I got that dreaded call really early in the morning from the moving company saying that we could not get the truck into the storage facility. We were coming from far away. We weren't aware of the dimensions of the storage facility. They called us. They said, okay, well, you now have to spend $1,000. You got to go rent a smaller truck. They legit park that truck on the side of the road, the larger one, to unload part of the stuff in the truck to put into the smaller truck to put in the units. We rented several units for way too long, 3 years. So I'm very familiar with storage facilities and very familiar with that. We had a very large property and large truck, but again, we rented several units because that's what the availability was and that's how many we had to rent. So it's not unlikely that someone who doesn't know the area, and given that we have a lot of growth in this area and a lot of people moving to this area, that scenario could happen with a larger truck coming in. I'm going to speak to, you have U-Haul drivers. Driving a box truck is not an easy thing. They're inexperienced drivers that are driving these box trucks right next to a daycare center in an area where there's children. You know, it's just, it's especially, again, there's no stoplight there that goes into that area. I don't know if it's even, there's so many stoplights on that street. It just really backs that street up. Again, to live there every day is to know that when someone's making that left turn, the street gets backed up tremendously. It's just difficult. There's been apartment building after apartment building. I can completely understand your desire to put a storage facility in that area. I mean, there's definitely a need. I could argue that spaces across from Home Depot, where there's just a huge parking lot sitting there and nothing there, would be more. It just has the space. It just seems like you're fitting this in a very small space. It just doesn't seem to fit. And those are my concerns. I mean, obviously the aesthetics of it. We live in this beautiful neighborhood, and to have a storage facility with 84 units isn't exactly the most. It's I don't know. It just doesn't add, if you will, to the neighborhood. I get it. If you need the storage, it does. But it's difficult. It's difficult to envision this in that parking lot. Sorry, I just want to make sure I have all my points here. Okay, I think I've said.
Thank you, Ms.
enough.
Wu. Appreciate it. And I believe we should have a sign-in sheet
Okay.
here, if you don't mind putting your name and address. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments from the Planning Commission at this time? I'm going to ask Mr. Stein one more time. Are you willing to match the gate and the fence?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's only about probably. Like,
Look, I understand. I'm sure it's a price difference thing, the chain link, but
I understand.
hearing Ms. Zullo's comments and the residential component that where we're dropping this storage facility, let's try to make sure that we're melding it in with.
And just in this, I'm not trying to be flip with the question. Happy to do it. Would you want, again, security, little finials on the top that point, just because there are two different types, so you can just get a standard fence?
I think the fence doesn't necessarily mean that. The
Okay.
gate showed,
Yeah.
but I would like the
That's
fence to
why
match.
I'm asking,
Right.
because the gate has.
No, I don't think that's,
Okay.
I mean, unless there's another planning commission member that feels that way. So.
Okay. But I would say yes, I'm fine.
Thank you.
Can I ask? one
Ms. Cohen.
So with this plan, the use is permitted in this zone.
Correct.
And does the parking, revised parking count, since it used to be a restaurant and now is a daycare, does the parking count comply? Is there anything that doesn't comply with zoning requirements?
The parking does comply. It's a shared parking arrangement. If I go back to, so these are all oversized for their uses. There's extra space in Walgreens. There's extra space for community bank and for the learning center. I don't know how often this has actually been used since the restaurant went out of business and the daycare went into place, but the applicant did do an analysis and indicated that there was still sufficient parking for all the different uses that are proposed, including this proposed new use. Now, they do have to provide, I think, 3 or 4 spaces that are dedicated to this facility, and they were proposing to do that in their shared arrangement.
And the coverage, all those the rest of the requirements are compliant with this.
Correct.
Use lot.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen. Anything else? Mr. Malozzi.
So I guess overall for this, the whole shared use, the bank, the learning center, and the Walgreens, there'll still be sufficient parking to accommodate all those uses per our ordinances?
Correct.
Okay. So we're trading impervious surface for a pretty low generator of traffic and less intense use, I guess, than even a restaurant instead of the learning center.
I would agree with that.
Mr. Stein, how many large 14-wheelers, 16-wheelers are allowed in your current storage areas? Is that something that's commonplace or?
No, that's what I'm saying. Any sort of like large box trucks was really typically what I see.
So the largest style of vehicle would be like a U-Haul type that Ms. Zulo had
Yeah,
pointed
and
out.
then I'll also just go on to say, so the fire truck, we met with the fire department, they are modeling a 32-foot fire engine to go through that. It does fit. So 30, to have a 32-foot truck.
Have you had anything in your conditions of use, a renter, that they are not allowed to enter that facility with I mean, we're getting into weight limits in terms of what's allowed on that parking lot, I would assume. Is that something maybe the engineer wants to jump in? Is that, I know now they're not getting, Walgreens does, and because I've seen it, and they enter in the back where they drop off their items for sale. But that navigating that into your storage facility is a little bit different than pulling into the Walgreens with a 14-wheeler or whatever, how many wheels those large trucks have.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if it's something, a condition to put in the lease, if that's what you're looking for, I mean, that it's not something over 30 feet or, that.
Yes, I would like that added in the lease.
Okay.
I would like that. I mean,
Basically,
a homeowner who's driving their Subaru into your facility, a lot different than here comes Mayflower pulling in, packing it in, and unloading. So I would like that for the record to be added as well. Mr. Pongratz.
And again, onto that, Mr. Malozzi, and he said, I think 7 to 12 a day. Do you ever run any issues? I mean, this is a unique property, what you're trying to do, how we're getting in and getting out. U-Hauls maybe parking before the gate or blocking the bank or in front of the daycare center trying to get in. Have you ever seen anything like that in any of your other 7 properties? I mean, where their guy can't get in because there's another U-Haul right there. Now we're a line, and now we're disrupting the bank, or someone trying to get out of their car for their. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I mean, I personally have never seen it. Could it happen? I'm sure it could, but
Right.
that's the thing.
It's just
It's
a
a
unique.
rare-
It's a unique area where you're deciding to put this.
Sure, I
right?
understand. I think there's enough. I don't know when you,
Queuing space.
yeah, queuing space. Thank you
Okay.
to get close enough because even just the gate back to where the bollard would be for the keypad is 15 feet alone. So
And the gate opens in.
no, gate goes up like
Up.
this.
Okay.
So it's not taking any space up. It just literally goes up. It's a
So
pivot
that
gate.
off of that website, the gate that you showed
Yep.
would
It
rise.
goes. It's called a pivot gate. So
Right.
it goes up. It
Right.
goes down.
So there's a height limit on there? Like what's the clearance? Is something going under that gate?
That's kind of why I said that.
It pivots up.
Pivot.
So
So
Oh,
it
okay.
stands up then. So
Right.
it creates like an L, call it. So you're looking.
Yep.
Got you.
And there,
Go ahead.
you're not having staff on site. This is just.
Yeah, so
your
what we
more
do
to
is we,
keypad.
yeah, from a leasing standpoint, it is automated through website, call center, but then also we do have what we call boots in the ground. So you have people that are there to make sure units are cleaned out, in terms of turnover, overlocks, and then obviously landscapers to
So just thinking here, safety. What happens 10 o'clock at night? And obviously it's surrounding a residential area. Will you get notified if there's a break-in? If there's, I'm just
I always
asking.
tell people first thing you shouldn't be calling us, call the police.
Right. Okay. I mean, we all want that, right? But it's whether it happens or not. Okay.
All right, so moving forward, any motion that is made, we need to make sure that we are matching the fence minus the top portion
Sure.
of the gate, the fence and the gate match, and we are restricting the size of the vehicles that are entering this facility. I don't know, council, do we need to be more specific in terms of we are allowing up to the size of a U-Haul truck, a box truck?
I don't know if you can, I prefer it if we could dimensionalize that.
That's why I'm asking.
So, I mean, my answer is yes. I don't have the expertise to tell you what the size of
Would-
the trucks are.
Would you object to us using the dimension of the fire truck that the fire chief gave us, since we actually ran a turning tempo?
I wouldn't object because the fire truck is needed but otherwise that fire truck's not going in there if it's not needed.
Right.
So I would not want something as large as a fire truck going in there. A U-Haul box truck, common sense, yeah. A Mayflower moving truck, no. So,
And I don't, not to jump in, but I don't know
yes,
if there's because I would want to make sure I have the correct information to find out how many wheels are on a box truck from U-Haul, call it, like, just so you can say no more than a 6-wheeled vehicle. Cause I know typically it's 2,
I think is it 6, 4?
They usually run them by the feet, like
Depends on the
16 foot
box
or
truck.
18. When we post roads, we do it by weight. Is that a way to identify the size of a vehicle? Like, no.
23 foot. Box truck is
Length of the truck, basically. Is that what we're getting at?
You have your height.
So just doing a quick Google search here.
It's 4 or 6. Some have 6 wheels. Some have
They're-
6 wheels because there's two on each
They're
side
all
of the
4
back.
wheels. The 10 foot, 15 foot, 17 foot, 20 foot, and 26 all appear to be 4-wheel trucks.
Are you fine with 4 wheels?
I would. So here's a question. When you say wheels, because sometimes they're as dualies. on the back.
Yes.
So call it 6 tires, I guess. I'm not trying to split hairs here, just to make sure we're on the same.
Are you opposed to just 4?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just looked up on ChatGPT.
I mean, you said earlier in your comments that this is usually homeowners driving
no,
their
it is.
own
I'm just
car,
wondering- I just
4
I
wheels coming in.
personally have gotten the U-Haul truck, and it had 2 wheels on each side, but 2 on that side. So you have 4 here, and then you have your 2 tires up front. So that's what I'm saying. You're then at like 6.
I would support no more than 6 with that setup.
Yeah.
Why not just do it by length? I mean, just the tires seem weird.
Well, then
I mean, like,
what's the standard length of a box
The
truck?
U-Haul I looked up in ChatGPT. It says the interior, so probably just the cab where you're packing stuff, is 26 feet. So you're gonna have then the front part of where it has the motor and the seats. So I don't know if that's 8 more feet or 6 feet.
The largest box truck that is listed here online is 24 to 26 feet.
Does the 26-foot length work for you?
I think that would be fine.
All right, you're sure?
Well, for what I'm reading here, it says and I'll just say it. It says interior length 26 feet.
Right.
So
Are you fine with that?
I'm agreeable to
I
that.
think that eliminates, and we were talking earlier about the fire engine. That was what, 30?
32.
That's why, sir, I mentioned, I really don't, I didn't want to get into that. The fire truck's going in as a necessity, right? Something's wrong. We got to get in there. So if you're fine with 26,
So we'll just to reiterate, because I'll be noting this on the plans, I believe. So the vehicle will be no greater than an internal length of 26 feet.
It's like what the motion would be.
yes.
So aside from
You wanna
the
make the
comments in the review letter, Mr. Pulaski, so
Yes.
the additional conditions are that no vehicle greater than a 26-foot internal length shall enter the facility, and that the gate, is it the coloring or the
The color and the style
style shall match
match
fence?
the fence. The gate and the fence match.
And we talked the hours. You were okay with just kind of codifying the hours that you like to operate, the 6
From 6
a.m. to 10 p.m.
Those three.
There be a sign that's on that?
Operating hours?
You'll have that.
So like if, can we put a sign out front as far as the vehicle's concerned?
I would assume you do that in your lease.
That it's lease, and also, hey, it's front and center when you pull up there too. It's going to say,
No more than 26 feet.
if
Yeah,
you
that
show
way,
up,
so when somebody comes in with a huge truck, well, I can't go in.
Ms. Sulu, do you have another comment? No, please. Please.
If this gets approved, it needs to be on your website. It needs to be, when I rent from you, I need to see the limitations because I don't want to be needing a big truck.
yeah,
All
we
right,
have.
can we just, all right, we have to at some point bring this to a conclusion, and as the attorney for the planning commission, I will not advise my client to get this far into the nitty gritty, like what the applicant posts on its website. That is beyond your purview. I don't think that kind of criteria would be something that this body could impose. And I think we're getting beyond our authority to even ask that of the applicant. The hours of operation that can be put in a plan note, but we're not going to govern things like what they put on their website.
I don't think any planning commission member mentioned that. Ms. Zulu did.
I got it.
I mentioned that I think any someone who's going to lease or purchase or allow usage there, I think that should be notified to them in there what type of vehicle they're allowed to pull in.
And I do not want to get into what they need to put in their leases to their customers. We're not going to get into that. And Mr. Pfeiffer, did you just advise me that a 26-foot interior vehicle may well have, as an exterior length, be up to 34 feet,
Correct.
which you've advised me actually exceeds the exterior length of a fire truck?
Of the one that the fire marshal recommended would be used.
Okay. So an interior length of 26 feet can be up to a 34-foot exterior length.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Chairman Lasky, I'll make a motion to approve the minor land development application for 2955 Linden Street, contingent upon the applicant meeting all of the conditions documented in the city's May 27th, 2026 review letter, and the following three additional criteria or conditions for approval. One is that the largest vehicle allowed to enter the facility is the commercial truck is 26 feet. The fencing around the perimeter of the property will match the gate of the property with some kind of black aluminum or facsimile thereof. And the hours of operation will be limited to 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Motion made, Mr. Malozzi. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll, please.
Mr. Pankratz,
Yes.
Mr. Burgos,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Malozzi,
Yes.
Mr. Malasky.
No. Thank you. Best of luck moving forward. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is the zoning text amendment. Mr. Pfeiffer or Ms. Fletcher, maybe Ms. Fletcher, if you can handle that, appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Is this on? Okay. Okay, so these zoning text amendments, just the way that the process goes for this specifically, the Planning Commission is a recommending body to the City Council. So earlier this month, City Council referred this to the Planning Commission and were able to review it. And then at the end, you can choose whether or not to make any sort of recommendation. So this amendment in particular is kind of what we're calling like a bundle of unrelated text amendments. Sometimes this just simplifies the process so that as we're, enforcing the zoning ordinance, we pick up some sort of minor changes that we need to make in order to improve clarity and better align with broader goals that we're trying to hit in our day-to-day. So sections 1 through 4 in your packet address Articles 1302 definitions, as well as 1322 additional requirements for specific uses. And overall, these are really formally bringing short-term rentals into the definition of hotel. And the point of that is to allow us to limit things like Airbnbs only to districts where hotels would otherwise be allowed. And it allows us to prevent them from overtaking what otherwise would be homeownership opportunities, long-term rental opportunities, and just really gives us a way to regulate that. Section 5 addresses Article 1307, workforce housing incentive. That incentive overall really allows for flexibility for developing workforce housing, which in this case is 80% or less of the area median income, which we felt that CL Limited Commercial District was appropriate to add to the existing list of allowable districts for that. And then lastly, Section 6, which is Article 1318, General Regulations, is simply a clarification that no more than one single-family detached dwelling may be located on a single lot in a residential district. And that is it.
And Counselor, do you mind just verifying again our role tonight when it comes in the zoning text amendment?
Right. So with your review, you have the option of recommending or not recommending that the city council adopt the amendment. Obviously, the city administration is requesting a recommendation from the planning commission that city council approve the amendments.
Everyone clear on that? We are passing along our recommendation to city council. Any questions by the planning commission for Ms. Fletcher? Mr. Malozzi.
Will these be acted on individually or as a bundle?
This will be in front of city council altogether.
So our recommendations would be for the whole package, or?
Yeah, the amendments will come in a single ordinance before council.
And our recommendations have to do that too.
I mean, we can't really itemize them. So yeah, I think we would request a recommendation on the ordinance as a whole.
Mr. Pongratz.
Could existing businesses become like non-conforming under the new definitions?
Oh, I mean, as a matter of law, they would, if you had an existing use there, any kind of existing use, if it continues after an ordinance amendment is adopted,
Great.
that would now exclude that use can continue
That's
as
what I
long as
thought.
it's not abandoned.
Thank you.
Ms. Cohen.
In section 6, does this preclude ADUs?
No, when we address ADUs, we're not going to call them single-family detached dwellings. They'll have a different label. So this just addresses the issue of essentially someone who wanted to put two, think of them as, principal use, two single-family detached dwellings on their lot.
And the ADUs hasn't been addressed by ordinance yet.
Not yet. But we will call them something different so that when we do, and, wherever we do allow them, they would be, an accessory to the single-family, assuming it's a single-family detached dwelling, they would be accessory to that dwelling.
Any other questions? Planning Commission. I'll entertain a motion for recommendation to City Council.
May I ask another question?
Yes, sir, Mr. Malozzi.
For the workforce housing, so is that defined workforce dwellings and it's already allowed in the zones that are listed here except for CL?
Correct.
What's an example of CL? Is that what we would see along like Stefco Boulevard or?
Think of Broad Street. As you go west on Broad, that becomes the CL district once you get out of the central business district.
Okay. That would allow workforce housing, which is multifamily, like apartments or something like that, that along Broad Street.
It really has to do with your income level and permitting that type of income level, and then getting the incentives to provide that type of housing. So it's a section of our ordinance that's rarely used, sadly, but we would like to see, in order to try and increase our amount of workforce housing, nobody's taking up the incentives right now. So if we include the CL district, it seems to be a logical location from a planning perspective to allow workforce housing in this district, that we would hope that we would entice more developers to look at offering that type of lease rate.
You said that's at 80% of median income, that's workforce.
Correct.
Thank you.
Again, I'll entertain a motion at this time. Ms. Cohen?
I'll make a motion to pass on the zoning ordinance amendments as presented in a favorable way to the City Council.
Motion made, Ms. Cohen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Pongratz. Roll, please.
Mr. Pongratz.
Yes.
Mr. Burgos. Ms. Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Malozzi.
Yes.
Mr. Malosky.
Yes. Mr. Pfeiffer, any other discussion items this evening?
Yes. One more item. That's your summary of upcoming agenda items. I'm going to skip over the first two. The third one, there's a typo on that. The extension was granted to the 17th of August, which would allow the applicant to either come in July or August. At this point, the applicant has not provided a resubmission.
Which one is that?
That's Autumn Estates, Township Line Road.
August 17th.
That is correct.
Thank you.
There are potentially 5 cases that would be coming before you on your July 9th agenda. The first is going to be 404 East 3rd. They have made a second submission, so we will have comments for them prior to that meeting and for you as well. Definitively, 1400 East 4th Street, the Gateway Project, will be on the July agenda. 505 East Makeda Road, that is a sketch plan that was supposed to be heard this evening. It's a sketch subdivision plan, so it's kind of a rarity. Because of that, the applicant does not have to give us a request for the next date that they want to be on, and they did not. They said, basically, we want to consider the review letter that you provided to us, and we will reconvene with our applicant and the engineer and come back to you at a later date. 1405 North Boulevard will be on your July agenda, barring the applicant giving us an extension of time. 5262 East Broad, that's another sketch plan. That was supposed to be on this evening's agenda. There, the applicant has asked to be on the July agenda. And the last one is subject to our reviewing the review letter, our own review letter with the applicant. That comments are due tomorrow, end of day. So we won't know how lengthy that letter will be. If that letter is lengthy, we advise the applicant to give us the extension and do a second review so they're not coming in with a lengthy list of things that they still need to resolve, particularly as it pertains to fire access. So that could be on the July 9th or August 13th. That's it.
Thank you.
I have a question or two.
Oh,
Ms.
yes.
Cohen.
Can you talk about, do you know the results of the Bethlehem Township meeting on the Township Line Road?
They did not,
yeah,
they were not in attendance. They didn't show up.
the applicant did not.
Didn't show up.
Okay. And Rob, you mentioned something about the August meeting. Is that still good?
As of now, it's always 13th because Music Fest is the
Yeah,
week
we
prior.
we miss Music Fest for Planning Commission.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. See you next month. Are we off?